I've got to say it, what an absolute fucking letdown that was. Week 1 of the finals had us spoiled, thrillers, upsets, chaos, everything you want from September. And then the semi-finals roll around and what do we get? 2 blowouts, 2 games that were done before three-quarter time, 2 clubs that bottled it on the biggest stage. Welcome back to the Footy Den. Hope you guys did enjoy week 2 of the finals. I guess a lot of you didn't. But Adelaide minor premiers at home, 50,000 fans behind you. You'd think they'd win, and unfortunately Adelaide goes out in straight sets. First time that's happened to a top side in more than 40 years. That is really embarrassing. That's not just a loss, that's a stain on your season. And Gold Coast, you finally break through, you finally win your first ever final, the fans are believing, the whole comp is starting to look at you differently. And then you get steamrolled. You looked like a deer in headlights. You weren't ready for Brisbane's heat, you weren't ready for finals pressure, and you got shown up. This weekend proved one thing, finals footy doesn't care about hype, doesn't care about your home crowd, your fucking fairy tales, or your ladder finish. If you don't bring it, if you don't absorb the pressure, you get torn apart, and that's exactly what happened. So, Footy Den fans, buckle up because I'm going to tear into Adelaide, I'm going to tear into the Suns, and we're going to talk about how Hawthorn and Brisbane made statements that could shape the rest of this final series. Stick around. Adelaide fans, this one's going to sting. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Minor premiers, full house at Adelaide Oval, everything set up for a response. And the Crows go out in straight sets from losing the qualifying final and the semi-final. First top side to do that in over 40 years. That's not just a bad night, that's a scar on the season. Now from the very first bounce you could feel it wasn't right. Hawthorn looked sharper, cleaner, hungrier. Gunston nails the opener before most people have found their seats. The Hawks stack on a couple more and the whole thing just tilts their way. That early punch matters in finals. It sets the tone. Adelaide needed to absorb it and hit back. Instead, they wobbled and Hawthorn smelled blood. Now, the midfield battle told the story. Jai Newcomb walked in and said, "I'll take this." Strong at the stoppage, clean hands under heat, smart with the footy. You had Lloyd Meek as well. That gave the Hawks exactly what they needed. Honest, hard ruck work that let their on-ballers set the ground how they wanted it to be. It wasn't flashy, it was finals footy. First touch, territory, repeat entries. That's what wins in September. Up forward, Hawthorn were efficient. Jack Gunston wound back the clock, clever leads, calm set shots, the kind of poise you only get from years of playing big games. They got Ginnivan as well, did what Ginnivan does, niggle, pressure, pop up at the right time and make the crowd nervous. Every time Adelaide looked like they might flick the switch, Hawthorn found a moment, a clean clearance, a brave intercept, a dagger of a set shot, and the air went out of the Adelaide Oval once again. And then there's James Sicily. That is leadership. He didn't just defend Tex Walker. He controlled the whole end of the ground, read the ball early, killed Adelaide's attacks before they formed, then launched the Hawks the other way. That's a sort of all-court captain's game that drags a team through a knockout final. Now let's talk about the Crows because this is where the hard truth lives. They looked rattled, fumbling in the heat, wasteful going inside 50. Too often they kicked to a hope rather than to a target. Without Isaac Rankin's spark, that forward line lacked bite. No one to create something out of nothing when the structure broke down. Riley Thilthorpe tried to rip it open. He missed a few, kicked his goals as well, gave him a contest. Josh Dunkley as well came on and gave a burst, but it never felt like a wave. It was just moments. Finals don't reward moments. Finals rewards sustained pressure, and that's the theme here, pressure. Hawthorn brought it, sustained it, and then lived in their front half. Adelaide's backs were constantly firefighting. Every rebound was under the pump. Every exit kick felt rushed, and because of that, the ball just kept coming back, you could see the shoulders drop. That's what front half footy does. It like suffocates you. Selection and in-game calls will get picked apart all summer. Could Adelaide have rotated earlier? Could they have shifted matchups sooner when Sicily had Walker in his pocket? Could they have slowed the game down and taken some air out of Hawthorn's run? Maybe, but the harshest truth is, you shouldn't be relying on whiteboard tricks at home as the minor premier in a semi. Your identity, contest, territory, decision-making should carry you. Adelaide's didn't. And I get it. It's easy after the fact to say, this bloke should have done that or that move was wrong, but watch the body language, watch the second efforts, watch the composure. Like Hawthorn looked like a team that had clarity on how to win that game. Adelaide looked like a team hoping their best footy would just reappear because the crowd was loud and the stakes were high. Finals don't give you that. You have to take it. Credit the Hawthorn's coaches too. Sam Mitchell, they didn't overcomplicate it. Win the ball, get field position, lower the eyes going inside 50, take the crowd out early. When Adelaide tried to surge, the Hawks didn't panic. They absorbed, reset, and found the next contest. That's maturity for a young group, and it travels in finals. So where does this leave the Crows? It's a hard review. You can talk about Rankin being out, you can point to injuries or a tough qualifying final, but the truth is simple. If you finish top and you go out in straight fucking sets, it's on the collective. Leaders need to own it. The midfield needs to own it as well. The forward line needs to own the lack of connection. And the whole group needs to carry that burn into pre-season and actually do something with it. Because seasons like this don't roll around every year. You don't get infinite shots at a flag window. And this was Adelaide's chance. For Hawthorn, it's the opposite story. This win is the proof concept. They didn't just win a final, they went into the minor premier's house and took the whole thing apart piece by piece. Newcomb's rise, Mick's importance, Sicily's command, Gunston's timing, it all says they're building something that holds up when the temperature spikes. And that matters more than any pretty patch in June. Back to Adelaide one last time because the message has to land. This isn't a bad night. This is a line in the club's recent history. Minor premiers going out straight sets. It forces uncomfortable questions about method under pressure, about depth of scoring without a spark plug like Rankin, about whether the midfield has the right balance when the hammer comes down. The answers can't be like fucking PR fluff. They've got to be actions, list calls, role clarity, and a game style that doesn't fall apart the minute someone punches you in the mouth. Hawthorn earned every bit of that win. Adelaide let it happen. That's the story. And finals don't care how good you were in May, June, July, or August. They care what you are when the siren sounds on nights like this. So Hawthorn were just too good on that night. Now to the All Queensland semi-final at the Gabba, the Q clash in September for the first time ever. All week the story was about the Suns. Could they do it again? They belted Brisbane earlier this season in round 20. They were riding high after their first ever finals win, and with Lachie Neale ruled out, everyone was asking if the Lions were vulnerable. But from the first bounce, Brisbane made it clear this wasn't going to be a fairy tale. They owned the contest, owned the pressure, and put Gold Coast right back in their place. Gold Coast did start firing though in the first quarter, and then they just stopped. And let's start with Josh Dunkley. He put on one of the great defensive final performances you'll ever fucking see. 18 tackles, that's not just a good number, that's a finals record, 18. Every time Gold Coast tried to build momentum, Dunkley was there dragging them into the turf. He absolutely blanketed Rowell and made life hell for Miller too, and so did Zorko as well. Now Dunkley set the tone for Brisbane and the rest of the team followed. Then you've got Ty Gallop, a kid not many people outside Brisbane fans knew much about, and I didn't know much about either, but he stood up in the semi-final and kicked his first AFL goal. That's massive. The confidence the lifter gave him and the side, you can't underestimate that. Gallop brought spark pressure, and showed he's going to be a handy weapon in the years to come. Now the Lions forwards also fired. Zach Bailey and Kai Lohmann, who completely had his head shaved, were electric, each kicking 3 goals and tearing Gold Coast's defence apart. Bailey's speed around the contest and Lohmann's work rate were too much for the Suns. Cam Rayner as well threw his weight around and looked dangerous whenever he got near it. And in defence, Harris Andrews was rock solid, collecting intercept marks and shutting down every shallow entry the Suns bombed forward. Now for the Suns, look, I gotta be blunt, they were pretty fucking disappointed. And after all the talk, after all the hype, they froze under the heat. Ben King looked dangerous early, kicked a couple, but disappeared when Brisbane lifted. Rao and Miller fought hard, but under Dunkley's and Zorko's pressure, they just couldn't generate the drive they needed. And when Brisbane turned the screws in the second half, the Suns folded. Their ball use was sloppy, their forward entries shallow, and the defensive pressure almost non-existent compared to week 1. Finals footy is about absorbing those 10-minute bursts of heat, and the Suns just couldn't cope at all. And that's the criticism. Gold Coast made history by getting here, but they didn't look ready for the next step. They fumbled when the pressure came. They looked second rate against a side that knows how to win in September. Gold Coast are still pretty inexperienced, and that's a harsh truth. But let's also acknowledge the positive. This was still a win for Gold Coast season. Damien Hardwick and the boys absolutely killed it this season. Damien Hardwick brought Gold Coast into the first ever finals victory, breaking through that barrier, showing their fans that they belong on this stage. That matters. This was the step they needed to take. But the gap between being a good story and being like a genuine contender was exposed. They need more composure, more depth, and more players who can stand up in final moments. For Brisbane, this was a statement win, no doubt. No nil, no excuses, and still they dominated. Dunkley's record-breaking tackles, Gallup's emergence, Bailey and Lohmann delivering on the scoreboard, Andrews commanding the defence, and McCluggage and Ashcroft stepping up in the middle. It all showed the Lions are still alive and very, very dangerous. So here's the verdict. Brisbane reminded everyone why the Gabba is a fortress. They bullied the Suns, they really did, crushed their fairy tale, and marched into the prelims with momentum. For Gold Coast, the dream ends here. It's still a successful season though, in my opinion, but nights like this prove they've got plenty of growing up to do before they can truly mix it with the big boys of September. And now we move into the big stuff, the prelim finals. This is where the heat really cranks up. Win here and you're off to the grand final. Lose and all that hard work means nothing. Prelims are brutal, they're intense, and they're usually the best games of the year. We've got Adelaide gone, Gold Coast gone, which leaves us with 4 sides still standing. Hawthorn, who just ripped the minor premiers apart at Adelaide Oval. Brisbane, who smashed their rivals in the Q Clash and reminded everyone that the Gabba is still a fortress. And waiting for them are the 2 rested powerhouses, Geelong and Collingwood. Hawthorn will head to the MCG on Friday to take on Geelong. Can the Hawks keep this dream run alive? They've shocked everyone so far, and the Cats will know they can't underestimate them. But Geelong look like the most complete side right now. They really do. Clean, composed, and finals hardened. Now, if Hawthorn are going to pull off another upset, they'll need Newcombe to fire again, Gunston to hit the scoreboard, and Sicily to lead from the back. Then we've got Brisbane heading to the MCG to face Collingwood. The Lions got the confidence back last week, and this is a different challenge. I don't know who's going to win. It's going to be so hard to pick. You got Collingwood's pressure, the ball movement, the way they rise on the big stage. It's a fucking monster task. Brisbane can win it for sure. Only if Dunkley brings that tackling heat again, if Bailey and Lohmann hit that scoreboard, if Charlie Cameron steps up a little bit more, and if Harris Andrews can control the air down back. Now, without Neil, their midfield has to be perfect. So here's the bottom line. These prelims are going to be massive. Like Geelong and Collingwood are favourites, I think, but Hawthorn and Brisbane are still alive. They're dangerous. And they've got nothing to lose at this point. This is the round where heroes are made and seasons are defined. Strap yourself in, because if September has taught us anything, it is to expect the unexpected. So that was the week 2 outcome. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and week 3 approaches very soon. The prelim finals are finally here. So yeah, let me know what you thought about this week's semi-finals. Do you agree, disagree with my opinion? Make sure you drop a like and comment as well, and also subscribe. I will see you in the next one.